We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages.
In the early hours before dawn, the United States executed one of the largest and most complex special operations raids of the entire Hormuz campaign. A joint force of 5,000 elite U.S. Special Forces operators was ordered to assault and capture the main IRGC command center located on the strategic Hormuz coastline. This heavily defended complex served as the central hub for directing mine-laying operations, drone swarms, and anti-ship missile strikes that had brought tanker traffic in the strait to a near standstill. The mission was to storm the facility, eliminate its leadership, destroy its command infrastructure, seize vital intelligence, and turn the entire coastal position into a secured American forward base. This decisive strike aimed to collapse Iran's ability to coordinate maritime attacks and finally reopen the critical energy corridor. At a forward operating base in the UAE, the alert reached the task force at 0100 hours. Colonel Ethan Brooks, overall commander of the Joint Special Operations Element, gathered his senior leaders inside the main briefing tent. A massive digital wall display showed the complete layout of the IRGC command center. The multi-story reinforced headquarters building, the deep underground bunker network, the rooftop satellite communication arrays, the coastal missile launch pads, the vehicle motor pool, and the small protected harbor, used by IRGC fast boats. Colonel Brooks briefed the force with sharp clarity. We hit with 4 coordinated assault groups from land, sea, and air. Our goal is total control of the complex before sunrise. Speed and silence are critical that we capture the leadership alive and take everything their computers hold. He explained every infiltration route, assigned objectives to each unit, coordinated fire support, and answered detailed questions for over 30 minutes. The operators listened in complete silence, burning every detail into memory. Right after the briefing, intense preparation kicked off across the base. Operators moved to the armory and meticulously checked their gear. They fitted advanced night vision goggles, loaded suppressed 18 Malawian Quachas rifles with subsonic ammunition, and packed extra magazines, breaching charges, flashbangs, and medical kits. Snipers zeroed their long-range precision rifles while communication teams tested encrypted radios and satellite links. Medical personnel stocked advanced trauma supplies, and breaching specialists checked shape charges and tools. Every operator moved with calm professional focus, rechecking every strap, battery, and magazine. At the same time, on the adjacent airfield, a fleet of C-17 Globemaster III aircraft stood ready with their massive rear ramps lowered. Load masters directed heavy forklifts as they hauled pallets of ammunition, medical containers, communication equipment, and lightweight tactical vehicles up the ramps into the cavernous cargo bays. Armored Humvees and all-terrain vehicles were carefully driven aboard and chained securely to the reinforced deck using heavy tie-down straps, and cargo locks. Inside the cockpits, pilots and crews, ran full pre-flight checks, avionics, navigation systems, terrain-following radar, and fuel calculations for the combat insertion flight. The entire loading process was executed with speed and precision so that the aircraft would be ready the moment the operators finished their personal preparation. Once preparation was complete, the takeoff phase began. Special Forces operators formed into tight teams and marched toward the waiting C-17s, carrying their heavy rucksacks and weapons. They climbed the rear ramps, stowed their personal gear in the cargo netting along the side, and took seats on the red wedding. Loadmasters performed final headcounts and secured all loose equipment. The massive rear ramps of the C-17 Globemasters slowly rose and sealed with a heavy hydraulic sound. One after another, the 4 powerful Pratt & Whitney turbo engines spooled up, filling the night with a deep roar. The heavily loaded C-17s taxied onto the runway and accelerated, lifting off smoothly into the dark sky. At the same time, naval special warfare teams, boarded fast combatant craft assault boats from the pier and raced across the Gulf toward the target coast. The entire force maintained strict radio silence as they approached Iranian airspace and coastal waters. 35 minutes later, the landing phase commenced. The C-17 Globemasters descended toward 2 pre-selected drop zones and landing areas behind the coastal ridges. Ramps lowered while the aircraft were still moving, and operators, fast roped or exited rapidly onto the sandy terrain. MH-47 Chinooks and MV-22 Ospreys that had flown in support also touched down, offloading additional teams and equipment. Simultaneously, the seaborne assault teams approached the small harbor in their fast boats, slipping ashore silently. using the rocky shoreline for cover. Within 15 minutes, all 5,000 operators were on the ground in perfect position, forming into their 4 assault groups without raising any alarm. The operation exploded into action as the first light of dawn touched the horizon. The 4 assault groups struck the IRGC command center from multiple directions at once. The first group breached the main headquarters building with shaped charges and cleared every floor, music, with suppressed fire and flashbang. The second group assaulted the underground bunker network, cutting power cables and securing the central server. The third group destroyed the coastal missile launcher with precise javelin strikes, while blocking the harbor to prevent any escape by sea. The fourth group seized the rooftop communication arrays and captured the senior IRGC commanders along with their staff before they could destroy critical documents or activate emergency protocols. Fierce but disorganized resistance was quickly overwhelmed by music, the speed, coordination, and firepower of the special forces. High V-value targets were secured with flex cuffs and hoods, while intelligence specialists, music, rapidly downloaded data from the command computers and seized laptops, maps, and encrypted drives. By sunrise, music, the entire IRGC command center on the Hormuz coast was firmly under use control. The once powerful music nerve center that had orchestrated months of attacks now stood silent and captured. Back at the forward base, Colonel Ethan Brooks received the success code. A wave of quiet satisfaction moved through the operations center. The captured commanders and the huge intelligence hall would provide game-changing information for future operations across the strait. On the captured coastline, the special operators quickly, music, established strong defensive perimeters while follow-on marine units began arriving by sea to help secure the position. The C-17 Globemasters that had delivered the first wave were already turning around for additional equipment runs, their ramps lowering again to offload more supplies and vehicles. Colonel Brooks stepped out and looked toward the coast where the American flag now flew over the former IRGC headquarters. Head dressed his team with simple words. 5000 operators just took the heart of Iran's coastal command. The center icers. The threat is broken. The strait is opening. Below on the water, the first group of oil tankers that had been stranded for days began moving again, their massive silhouettes cutting through the calm sea under the protection of U.S. forces, now controlling both the heights and the critical coastal command center. The 5,000 U Special Forces who executed this daring raid at dawn delivered a crushing blow, music, to the IRGC. Their lightning strike proved once again that American special operators can strike anywhere with overwhelming force and surgical precision. The mission was complete. The IRGC command center on the Hormuz coast had fallen. The waters of the Strait of Hormuz were beginning to flow freely once more, secured by the courage and skill of the warriors who answered the call when the world needed them most.